You may have heard about the current discussions on Ukraine's demands for the return of the Crimea, as if it happened yesterday instead of 2014. All these are nothing but the habitual Western propaganda and the usual Ukrainian tricks of negotiating and renegotiating and over-negotiating to no results. Ukraine did this in the Minsk I and II Accords, the Istanbul Summit in April 2022 in Turkey, the rare earth deal with the US, which ended in the Oval Office shame, and the current peace talks with Russia in Saudi Arabia. Hello and welcome again to the Edge of Politics podcast. Geopolitical Queen here with today's episode on how the Western propaganda machines have tried to turn their lies about the Crimea to be the truth by claiming that Russia took Crimea from Ukraine with force. Ukraine never signs an agreement in good faith. They only sign agreements to gain time to manipulate the media and fool their own citizens. Note that Crimea was not even part of this current agreement with the Russians. But for the usual reasons, Ukraine had to slip in Crimea and start playing the emotions of the ignorant ones by claiming that they cannot give up Crimea just to paint Russia black and accuse Donald Trump of being a Kremlin puppet, just because Trump is not buying into the Ukrainian childish BS. Let's take a listen at one of the German talking shows, which is gradually coming around to painfully admit some facts.
Yes, my world, my opinion on starting the week with the columnist Hans-Ulrich Jürges. Good morning and thank you for your time. Greetings, good morning. Let's start straight away with something that will get you going, as in the excitement of the morning. Is Donald Trump playing a role?
Yes, that's why I'm getting upset. This week I have to decide whether the Trump-like path to peace in Ukraine will be successful or not. If it isn't successful, he'll pull out, and heavens protect us from that. Because then I'm convinced there will still be years of war, so we have to hope that he can follow his path to the end. What are the Europeans doing in this situation of all times? Are they putting together their own peace plan, which is fundamentally different from Trump's, according to the European plan? The future of the occupied territories should only be discussed at the very end, after the ceasefire and a few other intermediate stages. That's not going to happen. The Europeans are claiming something here that they can't keep. They have no contact at all with Putin, and that is of course the prerequisite for negotiating such a peace talk. I think the Europeans should now, in any case, keep their mouths shut publicly and talk to Trump discreetly, and then hope that he can bring this to an end. Of course, Ukraine has to give up land. You have to be...
Just take a look at their faces, especially the lady. They just can't accept and believe it that one of their own would ever sit on their platform to speak such facts. Just look at the surprise on their faces. Simply because most of such journalists and commentators and whatever they call themselves have just sold the profession. They just go along with the propaganda and think and assume that the best way for them to secure their jobs is just go with the trend, go with the lies, go with the establishment. Is this the once revered profession that was supposed to control the government, to put the government on the right way, which today has been turned into a propaganda circus? Let's listen again.
Clear about that. It's a deal, land for peace. So the occupied territories are lost for the foreseeable future, and Crimea anyway. Crimea wasn't conquered just now in the course of this war, but back in 2014, and Ukraine didn't make any special efforts to get it back afterwards. Crimea is lost. Crimea was Russian for a long time. It was given to Ukraine in 1954 by the Soviet party leader Khrushchev, who came from Ukraine. The Russians always wanted it back. It's over, forget it. All I can say is, turn around. By that, I mean the Ukrainians. Turn around, write off these territories and look to Europe. Ukraine has always been culturally divided. So part of the population in eastern Ukraine was more oriented towards Russia, towards Moscow. They were also Orthodox in their faith. In the West, they were Catholic and looked to Europe. This division is now boosted by the occupation, by the Russian occupation of eastern Ukraine. You have to be clear about that. With Putin, there can be no peace without Ukraine giving up land. It has to do that. Let me remind you of something our own history after 1945 demanded that we give up the Eastern German territories as a condition for peace. It took us long enough, decades, until it was finally, so to speak, implemented under constitutional law. The renunciation was simply necessary. There are such historical situations, and this is one of those. Look at the peace moments and forget the occupied territories.
So what do you think? Are some Western journalists so obsessed with seeing Russia as an enemy, thus their refusal to publish and report facts, or they just want to ignore the decisions of the citizens of Crimea who voted in a free and fair referendum to join the Russian Federation? How long are such journalists going to go about spreading propaganda instead of facts? Well, kindly leave your comments in the comment section below, and thanks for tuning in. I will be back with the next broadcast. Good day.